sacral center to the solar plex center. From the sacral center to the solar plex center, we have the channel of mating. And here we have a very powerful combination. In fact, this is the only pure emotional generating connection. That is the direct connection between the sacral center and the emotional system. And of course, when we're dealing with the emotional system, we are dealing with the wave, we are dealing with an automatic authority, and we're dealing with an automatic authority in which there is no truth in the now. And so when we're dealing with this channel of mating, we know that the mating process in and of itself, that there is no truth in the now. Love at first sight, as an example, is not something that conforms to the viability of proper mating. Proper mating is based on an emotional authority. We begin with the 59th gate, the gate of dispersion, the gate of sexuality in the sacral center. And of course, this is the other genetic role gate of the defense circuit. And this is the genetic role gate in mating. In other words, this is the role to be taken on in mating. Whenever you're looking at role gates carry particular importance when we're doing line analysis, and particular importance when we're working with genetic continuity. In other words, if you're looking at your profile, the lines of your profile, particularly again your personality, because that's what you have conscious access to, that if you relate your personality profile to one of the 6 sub-themes or the line themes of the sexual role in mating, you will have an overview of the thematic that impacts you as well. From the first line preemptive strike to shyness, openness, brotherhood, sisterhood, the femme fatale or the Casanova or the one-night stand, these are strategies of the genetic role in mating. And obviously, because it is sacral in its nature, this is rooted in response. Mating is a matter of response. How interesting to see that the ideal of mating is that one mates in response over time, because of the emotional system and the 6th gate. And again, when we're dealing with the 6th gate, we are dealing with a gate that is the source of the motor function of the emotional system. In other words, the waves that we speak of in the emotional motor and the 3 variations of the way in which the emotional system operates through desire, through passion, and through need, that all of these find their source in the 6th gate, the gate of conflict, the gate of friction. And it's important to see that it is this gate of conflict which has its biological relationship to pH. In other words, basically the 6th gate is the opening and closing mechanism to our fertility or not. Fertility or not, open to intimacy or not. And this, of course, is being conditioned by the emotional system and its movement. When we have the whole definition, when we have the life force, we have a design that's focused on reproduction. In other words, this is a highly fertile force. And one of the things that's so significant about 59/6s is that they have an extraordinary capacity as a life force to break through the aura of others. And therein lies so much confusion, both in their lives and the lives of the others. The gift of being able to penetrate someone's aura is subject to projection. The projection that because you can get into their aura, that they want you there. Or that you can get into their aura and they think that you want them. And of course, all of this can be very confusing, when in fact it is nothing more than an inherent capacity to be able to penetrate the aura of others. Something to think about if you're a 59/6. One of the great allies in your life is your own reflection in the mirror. And it's something to keep in mind that while you're going through your emotional decision-making process, remember there is no truth in the now. That every once in a while, a look in the mirror and a question in your mind with that look will give you an answer that you really need. That ultimately the most important intimacy for the 59/6 is the intimacy they can have with themselves.